Be careful. You might learn something.
Let's go.
You are now tuned in to the Factual Opinions Podcast with your hosts. I am Pharaoh. Straight facts.
What it be, world? Season 3, episode 24, Factual Opinions Podcast, the best podcast, sports-wise, in the city of Cincinnati. I am your gracious host. I am Pharaoh, checking in with the Brown, Bruce Wayne, Big John.
Yes, sir.
And our resident Celtics fan, Will West, the best, Nate.
You know it.
So we have a lot of things to get to this episode and a few conversations that I really don't want to have, but in fairness and being the best podcast in the city of Cincinnati, we have to touch on. So let's get started right away. But first, I want to exchange some pleasantries, make sure everybody had a Christmas tree up, everybody had their lights and decorations up.
Man, you know who I'm married to. I already was trying to put lights out in the front and help her put an inflated Santa up. I just got on from work. I ain't want to do none of that, but it's up.
Ain't that cute?
Yeah,
I
got the tree up.
Yeah, Nate got kids, so he got to get the Christmas tree up.
The tree had to go up.
Right. I'm going to go get the Christmas tree tomorrow, but everything else up.
So he's not tuned in yet. He'll have to go back and listen to this episode. I want to give a shout out to our friend of the show, Mr. Will Johnson, the head basketball coach of varsity boys at Schroeder High School, our alma mater. Nate went there in junior high, started the campaign by beating North College Hill on opening night, which was pretty exciting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Went down to Nate's alma mater, the Hughes Big Red last night. It got kind of ugly in the second half, but definitely want to give a shout out to my alma mater and what we're trying to build over there. And John, it'd be nice if you want to, attend a basketball game or two.
Here you go. I was supposed to come to that game, but I had to work, man. I got a lot of situations at home I'm trying to take care of. So,
yeah, that's why Brother Johnson gave you the one finger salute when you asked for the schedule.
I know him. Whatever. I'll be at one. I'm gonna catch one.
It's like Big John ain't coming. Well, they got a lot of games, so I'd like to see you at more than one.
As long as I have the schedule, that's why I asked for the schedule. He out like last time he was coaching, I didn't come to games. Okay, I went to basketball game. I did. I definitely did. I went to more basketball games. I ain't go to no football games, and I played football.
That's true.
I went to basketball games.
Well, this time I did get you to, I believe, one Schroeder football game at least.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to do better.
Did I go to more than one?
I know we went to the Batavia game.
Yeah, I do know that. And the funny thing about that, before the Batavia game, the last time I went to game, Zeke was a senior. So that's
was that 08?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
08, 09, one of them.
So
heck, 08? God, John.
Right.
What's he doing?
It's a beautiful school, and let me throw that plug out there for anybody in Cincinnati Public School District or attending a Cincinnati Public School High School. There's a lot of exciting things happening at Schroeder as a school and athletically. It's a beautiful building and campus. It's one of the newer buildings in the district. I would check them out. Don't let everybody fool you and think you got to go to Withrow, Taft, or Woodward. There's other options out there. But well, let's do the football thing first. I want to start by talking about our Cincinnati Bengals, man. Everybody thought they were throwing up the white flag and looking at draft positioning and everything. But they came out on Monday night and beat the first place Jacksonville Jaguars with backup QB Jake Browning under center as the quarterback.
It was intense.
Yeah. It was very intense. But let me throw this out there, then I'm gonna get you guys' opinion on it. So Jake Browning actually went 32 of 37 passing the ball for 354 yards and a touchdown, 75.6 completion percentage. That is a team that could still qualify for the playoffs. Now,
Yeah.
will they is the question. Let me ask you guys. So what do you think with Jake Brown? He looked a lot more comfortable in game two. Under center. Do you think the Bengals still have what it takes to make the playoffs this year?
They can. Right now the AFC is tight. It's a real slim chance, but they do have a chance. And what I realize about Rick Browning, at every level he produced, like he was one of the best high school quarterbacks like ever. Like if you look at some of his stats, it's ridiculous. And then he had a decent career at Washington. So
Yeah.
he probably is one of those guys that's the late bloomer, like the quarterback of the Seahawks. Like he just, coming to his own probably later on in life. But he's always been able to, produce. That's why the moment didn't look too big for him on Monday Night Football, because he's always been in those moments, whether in high school or college.
And he stated that, and he looked very comfortable. I remember Jake Brown his last game at Washington coming up short to the Buckeyes in that Rose Bowl, but he did have a very productive career. Also helps though that you got T Higgins back,
Yeah.
and what I was telling people is I said, Jamar Chase obviously had a monster, game, but I'm telling you what helps with that is the fact that T Higgins is on the other side, just as a mere
Mm-hmm.
threat, and you have to pay attention to him, which allowed
Took a
Uno to
lot of
get
attention
bigger.
off. Took a lot of attention off of him.
As it's
Absolutely.
supposed, as it's supposed to.
And I still like that tight end. What's his name? Tanner Hudson.
Yeah.
For the
I like
Bengals.
Hudson better than Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, Irv might have been damaged goods or done when he got here, a little fizzle out product. But no, they need to find a way to keep Tanner Hudson on the roster because he's been producing quite well at the tight end spot. Still wouldn't mind drafting another one. I know they like Drew Sample. Um, and what's funny is I told Big John. No, actually, I told both of you guys. I saw Bengals executive vice president Katie Blackburn at Kroger over the
Yep.
weekend and
Mm-hmm.
waved to her, spoke to her. I know she was shocked because she still don't think a lot of people know who she is. I'm like, no, we know who you are, Miss Blackburn. You know,
Sure.
but I'm really proud of the Bengals for not packing it in. Now, I've heard some people in message boards or seen online where they're like, I don't really know that they should even do this, or does it make sense? They're just gonna, get themselves out of premium draft position to get somebody, early in the draft that can be a difference maker. But honestly, I'm never for tanking, and unless the season is just like totally done for. And you talking about you got one or two wins, towards the latter quarter of the season, and
Yeah.
you in position to get that number one or two draft picks. I'm like, okay, I'm still not for tanking, but I would understand. So the Bengals have a lot of pride. I'm really happy with the progress that we've seen just from week to week with Jake Brown, and so we'll see. We got the Colts this weekend.
Yeah, that's gonna be a
And
major game. That's gonna be a position game. I think if we beat them, we would be tied with them, but we would have the tiebreaker, and we would move into, I believe, that last playoff spot.
yeah, and brother Joe Dean showed up this week, had a good game, and
Yeah,
then his
he did.
backup actually came in and made some big plays for him too, broke off a couple
He
runs.
been hurt. And we seeing why he got drafted. We're
Yeah,
Yeah, I
seeing it
like
happen.
is it Chase Brown?
Yep, Chase
yeah,
Yeah,
Brown.
from Illinois. I was
Hmm.
waiting to see him get some real burn out there. But I mean, y'all know how I am about Joe Dean anyway. I've felt like he's been, underutilized since he got here, because what I saw was a carbon copy of Le'Veon Bell in the ability to run the ball as well as be an elite pass catcher out of the backfield. Joe continues at this stage of his career to be able to make people, miss. What I do like this year is he hasn't really danced as much. He's been hitting the hole solid and getting his yards and so forth. But I still think the number of opportunities have not been what I would like to see. Like I said, Joe Mixon would have his tongue hanging out if it was me. I mean, I would, of course, I'm old school, but I would Eddie George left, Eddie George right, toss it to Eddie George out of the backfield, throwing the
They
ball like if
don't.
it was me.
You just made me realize they really don't use the toss.
Well, when they have, it's so predictable and just ill timed that it doesn't work. So they have gone away from throwing the toss to him. But I mean, even utilizing the screen, which they've gotten better at throwing, screen passes to Joe Mixon this year. I just mean even out of the flat backfield flare out to the running back, man. I mean, he's cold with all of that. So I hope that they give him some more opportunities going forward because it'll make it easier on Jake Browning, take some of the pressure off of him too.
Oh, well, that's why they was feeding him this game. Didn't he end up with like 3 touchdowns? So
I know he at least had 2.
Yeah,
so they had 2.
Yeah,
they gonna feed him. I mean, when you got Joe Burrow, you can drop back and pass that many times. Now that would help Joe if he didn't have to. But that's what they're doing. They just relying everything on Joe in the passing game. So that's why they underutilizing him.
Yeah. I remember that game last year. I think they played the Panthers, man, where finally Zach Taylor, and I think it was due to some criticism that he had been receiving for not using Joe Mixon as much, started handing him the ball, and what Joe had like 5 touchdowns that game.
Right.
Yeah,
he had like 3 rushing and two catching, something like that.
Something like that. But it was nice smack in the face to people that would talk about start Samaje Perine and all that garbage. I'm like, Joe Mixon is now the second all-time leading rusher in Bengals history, behind the other number 28. Shout out to Corey Dillon, who said he would come on the podcast. Still waiting for you, brother.
Yes, sir.
But I did. Oh, and I forgot. Also, another shout out to a brother that should be coming on. I had the pleasure of meeting Bearcats legend, and for all of us in our age group, never forget this guy. Levitating Levitt, Melvin Levitt, aka the Helicopter, yesterday was assistant coach for Hughes High School, and met him before the game. Talked to him a little bit after. Cool dude. So hopefully should be having him on the program soon. But yeah, I want to transition away from the Bengals talk because I feel like the Bengals are going to respond. They have a lot of guys that have a lot of internal pride and direction, and have turned around the culture here. So yeah, I don't expect them to give up down the stretch, regardless of what does or does not happen. But we'll stick with football. There's a lot of controversy and people talking about the college football playoff um, committee and their decision and the 4 teams that they included in the playoffs this year. I know Big John had some comments. For me, he was really upset that Florida State did not get in.
Why were you so upset, Florida State?
Because it's stupid, man. It's like, and I know the mantra of what they have going on is we're going to get the 4 best teams, but it's kind of funny they switched that from year to year. Now, if you want to go through all the criteria they say they're using, whether it be undefeated, which I know that's kind of like spoken but unspoken, they don't really use it, but it plays a part. Okay, like the undefeated conference championship, Florida State hit all the marks. They had a dominating defense. Okay, their quarterback got hurt. I understand that's a very important position. I get that. They have a backup quarterback who was very highly recruited too as well, who was actually playing well. They had the 3rd string due to the 2nd string having a concussion. They wouldn't have went to the playoffs with the 3rd string quarterback. They would have went in there with the 2nd string quarterback. I get all the factors, but if I'm a Florida State kid, having a dominating defense that they had, having the season that they had, having the running game.
You're talking about dominating defense.
Yes. Go look at their numbers. Go look at their numbers. Everybody in the playoff right now, they can compete with. There's nobody in the playoff that they
my
can
only
compete
thing, and I'm not saying you're doing this, John, but people focus in on one aspect or criteria that the committee uses when somebody does or doesn't get in, and they say, but based on this, and I'm like, there's a complete list. And
I get it.
I don't know that they factor one criteria over the other as much as, like you said, ultimately just trying to pick the 4 best teams. But in the bylaws and procedures, they do say that they factor in injuries as well.
And strength of schedule.
So the strength of schedule also, and not just strength of schedule. They look at the amount of time that you spend ahead of games, actually winning versus trailing. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Style points do matter at a certain point, also. But see, I asked Big John, I kept it simple. I said, do you believe Florida State is the same team without their quarterback?
They're not. But any major injury, no team. Hold on, wait.
Go ahead.
Any major injury, you're not the same team. Texas lost they starting running back as well as their second receiver. They're not going to go into the college playoff full strength. I don't care how good Quentin Ewers is. I don't care how good that defensive lineman is. Their defensive line is. They're still not going to be full strength.
They look good.
And Alex, your boys won a national championship with a backup quarterback. So why does that matter? Come on, man. Don't do that.
Well, here's the thing, and shout out to your brother Cal. I'll get you, Nate, in a second. If Cal's watching, or we'll go back and watch, because he made a comparison to previous Ohio State teams, even last year's team with one loss that got in, and their job with the committee is to make it about the current season. It's not to make comparisons or makeups for previous years or whatever. It's about four best teams this current year. Now, even with that Ohio State team that you were talking about, they had the one loss to Virginia Tech early in the year, but you could see the progression each week and them becoming the team that they became. And they made a hell of a closing statement, a 55-0 victory against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship, stuck in the committee's mind. And that's what they went off of ultimately. And them having a better strength of schedule than TCU that year, who was the other team, behind them that was competing. So all that goes in. Now, to make an argument for Florida State, because I do feel their pain, although a lot of people ask me leading up to it, what do you think, or who do you think is going to get in? And I said, I think that team up north, aka Michigan, should be number one. I actually picked it right. I said that, Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama should probably get in, which made my cousin Bernard down there in Birmingham happy. Shout out to cousin Bernard. He wanted to get my opinions on that. Of course, he started with Roll Tide in the text message, but
of course, why not?
I said no. I said I think those are the teams, but I think Florida State has an argument. Regardless of somebody saying that they had the 55th, ranked, strength of schedule in the season, they also did what the committee said you needed to do, which was schedule tough non-conference opponents, and that would be weighed in. Also, they beat two SEC teams this year during the regular season.
They beat LSU when LSU was ranked number 5th in the country.
And who was the other one? Was it Ole Miss?
Yeah, it was Ole Miss.
Yeah,
but they beat LSU in the beginning of the year when they were ranked number 5 in the country.
Now, y'all know that I, don't hold the SEC to the esteem that, most other people do. I think it's an extremely overrated conference that's just as top heavy as any other, the major, conferences. We're really talking about, Alabama, Georgia, and sometimes LSU when people refer to the SEC, because they're not talking about Vanderbilt or Kentucky or, any of them. But at the end of the day, Florida State did what they were supposed to do and checked all the boxes, and they won. But the committee made the decision that they're not the same team, without their quarterback.
And that's why I think that word, I'm not going to say it needs to be tweaked, but the definition of it needs to be tweaked, saying we're getting the 4 best teams. Because the head coach of Florida State made a very valid point. We earned our wins, just like those teams earned their losses. You cannot penalize a team for winning and say they're not good, but then give a shout out to a team for losing and say they're better. Like, that doesn't make sense.
So do you think that Florida State is better than Alabama or would beat them head to head?
It depends on what kind of game it is, to be honest. Because like I said, the quarterback for Alabama has been playing extremely well. That young man has came back from a lot of adversity. I'm not taking nothing away from him. Starting off to where he started off to now to the way he's playing, I give him all his credit. But if they come out and it's a defensive game and it's a rock fight, Florida State got a better chance in a rock fight against Alabama than Michigan does.
It's unfortunate that Jordan Travis got hurt for Florida State. It really is. I think if he's in there, they probably do give him the nod. Now, despite Paul Feinbaum and other people, crying bloody murder and saying you can't have a college football playoff without an SEC team. And I'm like, I don't understand why not, other than money and corruption and this false narrative that's been put out there. And shout out to brother Maurice Claret for speaking on that on his platform. I want to get a comment. We got Henry C in the house. Cardale went off in that Big Ten championship chip.
He did, and nobody's saying that. But like I said, they've won 3 consecutive games without their Heisman-winning quarterback. Any other team would have dropped at least one, and they won with a third string in their conference championship. Like, you can't penalize and keep penalizing the team for coming through from that adversity. You can't do that. Like that's both.
They're going to value
we're ignoring the fact that they didn't play the best in that championship game in the ACC.
They didn't. But hold on. But what championship game was actually exciting except for the Alabama game? We knew what Michigan was going to do to Iowa, and that game was boring. They should have beat them up worse than what they did. The Florida State and Louisville game was terrible. It was supposed to be. And not to be funny, Louisville's offense is like top 10 in the country, where they averaged like 30 or 40 a game, and Florida State held them way below that. So they actually did play well, if you think about it.
The only argument, like I said, the only argument that I would, continue to say for Florida State is if the committee and others believe this false narrative, about, SEC superiority and stuff, they scheduled 2 of, the more premier, SEC teams. Now, I would like to point out that this was actually or could be considered a down year for the SEC. I did not think that even Alabama or Georgia were what they were in previous years, if you want to be honest about it, but they did it. Now the issue is, so next year, and keep in mind, we wouldn't have had this if the BCS was in place. But anyway, for all these college football playoff lovers. So now next year you have a 12-team playoff, and I'm telling you what this is going to do. For everybody that thinks that it's going to let the little man get in and the, underdogs and stuff, that's not going to happen either. It's still going to be more of the top dogs in there. And what you're going to have, particularly in the first round of the, playoff, is you're going to have some lopsided scores. Because I hate to tell everybody this, this ain't college basketball. There's not 12 teams every year that are capable of winning the national championship in college football. Usually it's about 3 to 4. If you're lucky, maybe a 5th team. And that's why I was saying I thought when the college football playoff was expanded, I thought the correct number should have been 6. That way you could have kept everything.
I thought they was going 6, but I was wrong.
Yeah, I thought you could have kept everything in place. You get those first 2 teams to bye. Schedules, still the same, happens as norm. But they wanted to go for 12. And I think what this indirectly does is this reinforces to certain student athletes or casual fans that if you're not in the college football playoff, it's irrelevant. And I hate that.
And here's the thing with that. What you said, I agree with, and it's very true. But one thing it is going to do for the years that the quote-unquote SEC or big-time conferences have a fall-off, it's going to expose some of them. Because one year, I'm just spitballing, LSU going to catch a Utah and get embarrassed. Alabama is going to catch Florida State or Miami or up-and-coming USC and get embarrassed. It's going to happen. It's not going to always be the status quo. So it's going to be some teams just like Georgia was number 1 the whole year. Now they're not in the playoffs. Next year, they will make it, and they're going to get embarrassed. So they're going to play a team like an Oklahoma State who can thump with them and play
John,
with
you're
them.
going to hate what I'm about to say, but I think the strength of schedule was the biggest damper on it.
Yeah, it probably was.
They were not
now, and that's a great segue, Nate. Now that you're moving to 12 teams in the college football playoff, what is the incentive for scheduling a tough non-conference opponent when there's more slots there?
That's going to be a big play in that. It's going to be a big play. I was listening to Pat McAfee with Kurt on there. Kurt Herbstreit was on there, and he was saying the committee basically has a criteria. But the thing is, when it goes to this 12, what's the criteria going to look like? That's it.
So
That was his number one. That was his number one question when he said
That's
that.
what
He
I'm
said,
saying. Like, what is the
"Well,
incentive
it's
now
gonna be
if
crazy.
I
Yeah,
know
it's
there's
going.
12
How they gonna
slots
figure this
and I
out
might be able to lose one game or two in certain instances and
and
still
still
get
get in?"
in?
but see,
Why
that's
do I
gonna
need to
go.
schedule a tough non-conference opponent?
See that now they're gonna have to set the precedent to where y'all gonna come out and play. Ain't gonna be no more Alabama against the Citadel. Ain't gonna be no more certain Big Ten teams playing these MAC schools or playing these black colleges. No offense to the HBCUs, those games are not gonna matter anymore. So you're gonna have to come outside and play. It ain't
Will
gonna
they
be no
still be
more.
on the schedule? That's the question. Will they
Yeah,
still
they're gonna
schedule
be on the
these
schedule.
They're gonna
Man.
be on the schedule. They're gonna be on the schedule because the most of those games are tune-up
I
games.
think they ain't.
But no, they're gonna be on the schedule because they're gonna have every college is
But
gonna
12
have.
teams now lessens the incentive on why I need to schedule a big time opponent, though.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Because
Definitely does.
if I'm in the SEC, or let's talk about the two big dogs. If I'm in the SEC or the Big Ten, and I'm Ohio State and Michigan, or now we got Texas and Oklahoma going over to the SEC also, I can afford, even if I have a conference slip up and lose one or two games, I can afford to do that, and I don't have to risk playing even by name, a Notre Dame or somebody like that anymore, because there are 12 slots to fill out now instead of 4.
But
They're still gonna go with the big name.
But the loophole in all of this is these super conferences. If I'm Alabama and I pretty much got to run the gauntlet and I got to play Georgia, I still got to play Auburn, who's a rivalry game. I got LSU, and turn around and have to play a Texas, have to play Oklahoma every other year. It's kind of gonna balance out because it's kind of
But
gonna
they
be like,
usually, and I know you're just saying it as an example, but they usually don't
Yeah.
have to play Georgia into
Yeah.
the SEC championship because Georgia's in the SEC East and they're
yeah.
Now you
in
know
the
who's gonna
West.
be the big time conference next year?
Who, the Big Ten?
Yes, it is.
Well, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do because they're doing away with their division. So there's no divisions now. There's no
No divisions no
Big
more.
Ten West, Big Ten East. Now, what I'm afraid of with that, and it's just gonna be the two best teams with the best record go to the Big Ten championship. So, say for instance, next year, and Lord hope it doesn't, but we have a scenario play out like it did this year. You would potentially see Ohio State and Michigan in back-to-back weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Does that lessen the significance of that game?
But see, here's the thing. That actually, it'll lessen the significance, but it actually will kind of help to see who's the best team. Because remember that year where Utah played USC twice. USC was up and coming. They were winning. They got popped by Utah. Oh, they still got a chance in the conference championship. And they got popped again. So it was like, okay, well, we know you ain't going now.
You could
So
also be eating your own young, though, too. If let's say a second loss occurs for one team, knocks them potentially out of the playoff. I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, I can see it working both ways for the Big Ten. Like, if Ohio State and Michigan play each other in back-to-back weeks, and let's say they both come out with one loss. One wins 1 week, one wins the next week. Hell, I could even see a 2-loss scenario where both teams.
Yeah, I was just saying. I was great. I could see a 2-loss scenario too.
But like you said, it kind of makes the margin of error a little bit smaller than it even is now, because if you get that 1 or 2 and third loss, whether it's conference or non-conference, you're out anyway. So especially if we have several teams that are undefeated or with 1 loss, that kind of weeds it out. Now you could say we're trying to get the best 12 teams in, but how can you be considered the best 12 teams and you got 3, almost 4 losses? Like, that doesn't really make sense to me.
And that's what I'm concerned about, because I to my knowledge, there's
Them 12
never
teams
been
gonna look like a hoop. It's gonna look like a hoop schedule.
Oh, bro, it's gonna
basically,
be
because there's never been a 2-loss team to make it into the college football playoff. But I guarantee there will be next year with 12 teams.
For sure.
Yeah.
It'll be an SEC team.
More than likely.
Mm-hmm.
But see, you got to remember, you can't keep saying that, because now the Big Ten has Oregon and USC, and they love to throw Oregon in there every chance they get. Washington, and Washington
won't be the same next year. I'm guaranteeing that.
They won't be, but you got to remember, they always, every couple of years, Washington have a freak team that that does damage. Whether it's a couple years ago when they ran into Bama, or the year they beat my guys and went to the national championship and won, they always have a freak team that comes out of nowhere.
It's gonna be different though with them.
This is a freak team, and then we don't see another
Ten.
freak team for another 5 to 6 years now.
That's fine.
This year.
And they playing in the Big Ten now, so
yeah,
that's still
I mean that
different.
too. That it is a little bit different, and I'm not saying it's not, but that's the same thing with Florida State. Florida State hadn't won nothing since Bobby Bowden, and then Jameis Winston came and won, and they ain't won since. So it plays a part.
NBC said the 12th team is for the highest ranked non-Power 5. Right? No. Now this is a sore subject for a lot of people. Like that year the UC got in, which, by the way, is the only non-Power 5 school ever to get into the college football playoff, and it took an incredible amount of stuff falling, it
was a perfect
in their
storm
favor for them to do it, and they had to finish undefeated still. Now they're in the Big 12, but I mean, you can kind of see the bias in the committee, even now. There's certain conferences, obviously, that they value their strength of schedule over, but not to bust everybody's bubble, but to bust their bubble. The college football playoff was never made for non-Power 5 conferences.
No, not at all. UC got lucky because they had 3 consecutive years of doing well, and it was going noticed.
And what I was telling
that's real live right there.
That's part of it. But what I was saying is the BCS too, though, helped non-Power 5 schools like Boise State and them, because it was a computer, right? There wasn't no subjectivity and biases coming into it. It was a computer that did it, and they got to go to those New Year's Six bowls and the BCS bowl games and stuff and play against an Oklahoma. But now, it'd be hard pressed, because they're not gonna put a Toledo or a Bowling Green in there.
But like you said, it was 3 consecutive years of doing well, but also like me and Al said, it was a perfect storm. It was multiple teams with more than one loss. They were undefeated. They beat Notre Dame. It was like a perfect storm. But then also look at UCF. They had 2.5 years or 3 years not losing. I think they were 43-0, and they ain't let them in. So that ain't really got nothing to do with it.
I just said, John, consecutive years of not having losses, not having one win, having one loss.
Central Florida teams.
Central Florida went 3 years without a loss. That's my point.
It took 3 years for them to get noticed.
I don't remember if it was 3 or not, but I know they beat Auburn and a few other teams that they weren't expected, to, and finished undefeated. But that's the whole thing. Like, this was not set up for non-Power 5, schools, the college football. Look at the committee. The committee is basically made up of athletic directors and people and school officials from Power 5 conferences. And that's what I keep trying to tell people. Like, I'm sorry, this was not made to be like March Madness where everybody has a shot. And honestly, it really shouldn't be, because again, outside of a crazy, Appalachian State beating, Michigan, back in the day, this is football. You're not really gonna have too many of those Cinderella stories to the point where they can actually beat the elite of the Power 5 conferences. Now, if you put William and Mary out there with Alabama, you know what's gonna happen. So John looking up that Central Florida right.
He looking it up.
But
I'm just saying, this is my thing, Big John.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying it wasn't just them having several years of being successful. It was that.
What was it, Big John? What was it?
I said it. It had you listen. It was the perfect storm. They had a strength of schedule. Multiple teams that year lost, had more than one loss. They had 2 to more than 1 losses. So that's what pushed them up. So you couldn't deny them. It was the undefeated years. It was the teams ahead of them, because had Oklahoma State won their championship, UC wouldn't have went. UC wouldn't have went. Had Oklahoma State did what they were supposed to do and beat Baylor, they wouldn't have went. Is my point.
Yeah, that was the last domino. And in addition to that, I still think the committee gave them and I know I'll get hate mail for this. I think they gave them more credit possibly for beating that year's Notre Dame team than they probably should have gotten, but it was still an impressive victory. They won on the road, still always a hard place to play at Notre Dame Stadium. Um, and they probably did peak back a few years, which you're not supposed to do. But like you said, UC finishing undefeated the previous year, even though it was a COVID year and everything, and they had a team with, Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant and Devin Ritter
And
and all them. They
Willie.
passed the eye test too. That's another thing.
That's
That's
really thing.
too.
Yeah, they
That's
passed the
that
eye
too.
test.
And they
That
were
was
like
another
what?
thing Kurt Hurstry said. He said it's about the eye test as well. You can't
They
ignore
were
that
they
it's
were a
about the
play
eye test.
away, and the year before they were a play away from beating Georgia. That's what helped them too.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
Yeah.
but see, that's what I'm saying. You got rid of the BCS because everybody was tired of that. Now you have the college football playoff, which basically, I don't know if it's implicitly or then you can say indirectly too, basically says, all right, well, if you ain't in this, then you ain't nothing, or you wasting your time. Before, kids was happy to go to their bowl games and get their little gift pack and backpacks and, spend a
Get
week
that little
away from
ring for the
school,
bowl when they win.
wherever you was going. And I still, if it was me, and I'm old school, but if it was me, you say football. I know Big John's the same way. You say football, I'm coming to run. I don't give a damn if it's the Duke Mayo Bowl. None of that matters to me. If I got an
Chick-fil-A
opportunity
bowl,
to, man, if I got the
Continental bowl.
opportunity to play football, Music City Bowl, the Belt Bowl in North
Right.
Carolina, I don't
Sun
care.
Bowl.
I'm playing foosball if I got the opportunity to play. But this is a new age. And my thing is, you got kids opting out that may not even get drafted to the second or third day of the draft.
Georgia's
Now,
team. I think they got Georgia already saying they've got 5, 6, 7 kids already saying they're not playing in the ball game.
I mean, I wouldn't do it. Like I said,
Yeah.
me or Al wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. But think about it. Like we were number one the whole year. We got one loss, and now we're out in the playoff. I'm gonna go get ready for the NFL. If I'm one of those guys that are
why
getting
though?
big, I just said I don't agree with it. But their mindset is okay. We finna play in a bowl that don't really matter.
That's kids that don't love the game, man, and they're out there for other reasons.
Me and you agree. I totally agree. But they look at it as well. But we were fighting for a national championship. We're not gonna get the national championship. This is a consolation prize. I'm gonna go get ready for the NFL draft.
And you know what? If you do that and you opt out, I think especially if you one of them players that's getting NIL money, you should have to give a portion of that back. If you don't fulfill your obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
I ain't seen no Buckeyes say they wasn't playing in the bowl game yet, though.
Not yet, but it's coming.
You think it is?
Yeah, because and it's a different vibe.
Marvin
Now,
Harrison Jr., I understand.
Whenever Meyer was there, they didn't have opt-outs. Even Zeke Elliott and Joey Bosa played in their last college football,
Yep, they did.
Game. Now Ryan Day is a bit more of a player's coach and a little bit more modern, and he's gonna let guys do what they do without putting any pressure on them. But I understood like Nick Bosa, who we knew was going to be a top 3 pick and had an injury his last year, was like, you know what, man, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down, get ready for the draft. But again, we're talking about a dude that was guaranteed, knew he was going to be a top 3 pick.
Yeah.
That is millions on millions on millions to make that decision. It becomes a family, decision.
Well, Marvin Harrison Jr. got every right to do it too then.
I'm saying, but what I hope he does is not do what my guy, Jesus, I forgot his name down there. Oh, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson did, which was wait to the week of the bowl game to decide what they want to, do. Now he just got named Marvin Harrison. Speaking of, as a Heisman finalist, so he got a trip to New York and everything else to, worry about right now. Obviously, I would understand him because on some people's boards, mock draft boards, they have Marvin Harrison number 1 prospect overall going into the draft.
That is true.
He could have shut it down a while ago, really, but he wanted to come back and beat that team up north and win a Big Ten championship. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I've heard slight rumors about he really hasn't made up his mind, and there's still an opportunity for him to come back. I don't really see that happening.
I don't
It
either.
it also depends on who Ohio State
Mayan Williams,
quarterback.
we got to shout out Mayan, the local kid. He is entering the draft. But it was a post with them three. It was a post with them three on it, saying they were going to the draft. It was a picture. So I don't know if this is true. We don't know. We haven't heard anything. We haven't heard anything been confirmed. But it's seeming like the two wide receivers and Mayan Williams are gone.
Well, Maya needed to go because, unfortunately, even before the injury, you can kind of see that the rotation wasn't working in his, favor anymore at Ohio State.
Can I get my props? Then I said, if we bring up the old episode, if I could, I said it first. I said he's going to the draft.
Well, you also have close connections to Mayan and his family, and I'm trying to stay away from that.
No. That ain't had nothing to do. I ain't talked to none of them jokers. But I'm saying,
that's fine.
I said what I said, Al. Don't take away from my recollection.
Okay, so you said it, but the starting running back Travion Henderson more than likely has played his final regular season game for the Buckeyes. I wouldn't be surprised if
you
he
think
opts out
he
of the
leaving
bowl
too?
game too. Probably.
Yeah, he just kind of injury prone to me, man.
What surprised me was Evan Pryor entered the transfer portal too, and I'm like, man, next year you and Dallin Hayden was supposed to be the guys.
Yeah.
And it was nobody's fault that he tore his ACL the previous year, but I guess he just got tired of waiting. And that kid that they have coming from Texas, I forgot his name, but he's the number 5 overall running back out of high school this year. Is coming in, and they say he's like J.K. Dobbins 2.0, another Texas kid from down there. He's built like him, runs like him. So I don't know. Henry C said Chip train him in the portal now too. Now that's a bit surprising too.
Wow, didn't know
I
that.
like he was gonna have a bigger role next year with Mayan and Trey Day clearing out. Maybe he knows something. I mean, that would be interesting for Ohio State to have 3 running backs hit in the draft, all in the same draft class. Even at a school like Ohio State, that's pretty tough to.
But I think this year, this upcoming draft is going to be really run back, like overwhelming. It's a lot of running backs leaving this year. We don't know what Michigan's running back doing. We don't know what the running back that got injured at Texas is doing. We don't know what he's doing. Even though
Blake Corum is definitely entering the draft.
Yeah, so this is going to be a very heavy running back draft.
What about he almost entered it last year, really, but
yeah, he did. If he hadn't got hurt, he would probably been in the draft.
Probably. So, that brings a nice segue to go on and have this conversation. Obviously, in the immediate aftermath, I was not ready to have that conversation or have a conversation at all with anybody. But let's do it. So, my state university lost to the Michigan Wolverines for the 3rd straight year. A lot of people around the country don't understand, and they think that Buckeye fans are being too eccentric and unrealistic. And how can they be upset? They're 11-1, and this is why I don't like Ohio State fans. And they're calling for Ryan Day's job and blah blah blah. And we'll get into what you guys' opinions are, even on that in particular. But I'm just gonna say this: I don't give a damn what y'all think and say around the country, because unless you grew up here or you grew up in the state of Michigan, then you won't understand the importance of that one game, because that one game is worth more than any of the rest combined. Now, I tell you, I probably take it a little bit more to heart than even, other Bucknuts, because I told Coach Cam the other day, shout out to him and his St. X Bombers starting 2-0 on the season.
Yeah, they had some
I'd
hard. They had
rather
some
Ohio
tough
State
games.
go 6-6 and beat Michigan than go 11-1 and lose to Michigan. That does nothing for me. It's not a damn consolation prize. It don't make me feel better or none of that shit because they're 11-1. Like, look what that one loss cost them. No Big Ten championship. No college football playoff. At the mercy of somebody else telling you where you're going to play. And now, because we live in this era of unless you play in the CFP, it doesn't matter. They didn't even get to go. Well, this year it was a playoff game, but it's like they didn't get to go to the Rose Bowl. They didn't get to go to the Orange Bowl. None of that because Ohio State people, although we used to travel well and used to sell out every game we went to. I remember last year they wrote the Rose Bowl and told them, please don't pick us to go back to the Rose Bowl in back-to-back years because we didn't sell out all our tickets last year and our fans aren't interested. And I remember seeing people online saying like the Rose Bowl is irrelevant. And I'm like, if I could reach through the computer and backhand, I'm like, fool, do you know that you get more money going to the Rose Bowl than you do playing in the national championship? There's a reason why they call him the granddaddy of them all. Like, what do you mean? You know, but that's different because we grew up in this part of the country, and most of us grew up wanting to play in Pasadena on January 1. Am I wrong, John?
Yeah, facts. But it just like, and it's crazy because now that you say that, out of all the major bowls, whether it's the Sugar, the Orange, the Fiesta Bowl, like the Rose Bowl was just different. It was just dope. It just had a different feel to it. And like, me being a Hurricane fan, we would go to the Orange Bowl, whatever, but it wasn't the same. Like you wanted to go to the
It
Rose
wasn't the
Bowl.
same because y'all was playing in the same stadium that y'all played in.
Oh, right. But I'm just saying in
going
general,
down the
like,
street.
going
literally down the street.
But no, all jokes aside, like even other teams that I watched, or it just wasn't the same. Just going to the Rose Bowl was different. Like
and I remember y'all got to go to the Rose Bowl in 01?
Yeah.
When y'all embarrassed Nebraska?
Yeah. And like I said, it's just different, man. Like we all seen the picture with Charles Woodson with the rolls in his mouth and all that. Like it's just different. It was just different, man.
The Rose Bowl meant a lot. It meant a lot more back then too.
Yeah,
it was a big
like
time.
I said though, if you were a Midwest kid and the original Big Ten teams, that's what you aspired to do.
Yeah,
everybody wanted to win the Big Ten and go to the Rose Bowl. You dreamed of that because let's face it, we know what the weather looks like around here right now.
Why wouldn't you want to go
wanted
to
to go
California?
to Pasadena, go to Disneyland, be out in Cali for a week. Like you said, had that rose in your mouth. It's just something different. Even the way the game looked. You know what I mean? The 100,000 people out there in that stadium and the mountains in the background and stuff out there. Like the Rose Bowl is different, man. Like,
and then they didn't play at night. You played in the day. Everybody had to pay attention to it. It was just different.
The Rose
and like
Bowl
you said,
midday
before the game, right?
And then, like you said, being a Midwest kid, ain't no major bowls out here. Everywhere is a major bowl where it's hot. It ain't no major bowls out here, so you wanted to go.
Because I think it always went the Rose Bowl. It was the Peach Bowl, Rose Bowl, and then it was the Sugar Bowl at night. That's how it was when we was up.
And then the Fiesta Bowl is usually played at night.
Yeah, the next day.
Back then, or the next day or something like that. But so here's the thing. So it's not irrational because again, that one loss. Let me borrow somebody else's statement. What everybody else says. That one loss made Ohio State season kind of irrelevant. If you want to be real about it. It took away everything that you were fighting for: a Big Ten championship, a college football playoff, and it was the third year in a row. So in 2021, you could say, Michigan was due. They caught them on the right day. It was kind of a bad weather game, although I don't use that excuse like other, people do. I feel like Michigan just won, that day. Last year was the big surprise coming back to, Columbus and them not getting the job done. You could break that game down if you wanted to and say, hey, that was kind of a fluke. Coach Day got out of, his normal game plan and was in his own head, took the ball out of CJ Stroud's hand and kind of set the, place for that. And even in that game, outside of two, broken plays where they allowed long runs to let it get out of hand in the second half, you could still make an argument. This year, now it's a problem, right? It's an official problem now because it's 3 years in a row. Now we're starting to have John Cooper vibes. Nate, you might
It's
is
hot.
mute.
Oh, my bad. I said it's hot seat time. Hot seat time.
See, but we're saying that as fans and people in the state of Ohio. I don't really get the vibe that the seat is hot in Columbus right now, and then you have
I
another
don't either,
issue.
but it's a lot of people
Gene
believing
Smith,
that it's a hot seat vibe.
Gene Smith is
I
on his way out in Columbus. That's another thing you have to consider. The athletic director. It's not going to get hot till whoever the new athletic director is that comes in starting in June and don't have that same connection or vibe with Ryan Day and didn't hire Ryan Day, and you make it 4 in a row and you lose again in Columbus next year. That's when I think the seat is hot, and or he steps down, he gets fired regardless of his record. Go ahead, Big John.
I agree with Al. It shouldn't be hot, and it's not going to get hot to the next following year. I do agree with that. But like I said, I know, I don't have a dog in either race, but I understand what you're saying about how important that game is, and every coach gets graded about how they play against their rivals. I totally get that. But the man
It's
is
in the
40.
contract at Ohio State.
Yeah, for sure. It's the man is 43-0 against everybody else in the Big Ten. He's 1-3 against Michigan. Anybody else in any other situation would have super job security, but this is not the case. This is a different situation. So he shouldn't be in the hot seat. He shouldn't be. The man is 43-3.
Let me say this because I want to make sure.
44-3. Sorry, 44.
Let me get this on record too, because I want to make sure this is said implicitly by me. I am as frustrated or more frustrated than any Buckeye fan out there on what has transpired the last 3 years. But I do not believe still at this moment firing Ryan Day is the answer. He is still easily one of the 3 or 4 best college football coaches in America. And what a lot of people aren't thinking, because you're thinking with emotion right now, and like I said, I get it. I didn't even want to watch college football for the rest of the year and really haven't. You get rid of Ryan Day, be careful what you ask for. It took Michigan almost 2 decades to get back to their perch. And had they fired Jim Harbaugh for going 0-5 against Ohio State, they wouldn't be where they're at right now. I believe Dabo down in Clemson started off with a nice 0-4 against South Carolina before he turned it around. So I am preaching patience. I've seen where he's made subtle changes in his recruiting practices. I'm talking about Ryan Day, where he has started to give more Ohio kids, opportunities like Tressel and Urban Meyer did. I see how he's recruiting linebackers, defensive, offensive linemen, tough guys. I can't believe I forgot the name. The twins up there in Toledo that won another state title. They're going to be like the Ohio State version of the Pouncey twins. So remember I said that, and I'm mad that I don't have their names right now, but they just won another state title coming in. Kids who care, kids who get it, who understand, because chances are if you're not from the state of Ohio or the state of Michigan, then you're not going to grasp how important this game is. Now, I don't understand how you don't, because you can see number 2 versus number 3, 2 undefeated teams the past 2 years. This is kind of getting back to what it was when we were kids. 2 top 10 teams competing for a Big Ten title, possibly national title. That's what this game was built on. So I don't understand how, even if you're not from here, you don't understand the magnitude of this game. But I tell you what else is hurting Ryan Day right now as far as public perception. And at a certain point, perception becomes reality. He's following in the heels of 2 guys who were born and raised in the state of Ohio, which Ryan Day is not. Last time we had a coach that was not born and raised in the state of Ohio was John Cooper, and I love John Coop. He's still a college football Hall of Famer, but can't defend 10-1 against Michigan. And I guarantee Ryan Day won't have 13 opportunities to do that. in today's age. But the point I want to make is those other two gentlemen that I mentioned, Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, born and raised in the state of Ohio. Jim Tressel was 9-1 against that team up north, followed by Urban Meyer's perfect 7-0 against Michigan. So, yeah, going. So Day is what 1-3 now.
He's 1-3. He can write the shit, but he got to do it.
Yeah, and that's the bad part about this game. Like, I didn't feel like, other than him running out the clock and not being aggressive in that last drive in the first half this year, I didn't feel like he coached a bad game, but I could still see just in his body language him not being the normal Ryan Day. He was thinking, too much. And the fact of the matter is, they just didn't get it done this year. I don't feel like they played bad, but they just didn't get it done.
And like you said, they've been spoiled with 12 consecutive years of winning, so it's gonna look bad in any case. But then when you have like you mentioned Dabble earlier, he couldn't beat South Carolina, he couldn't beat Florida State till he did. Then look at my boys. For years, we was down in the dumps. We couldn't beat Florida State. Then we read off 5 straight. We still lead. People don't realize we still lead in the series, but it just looks bad because we're not winning.
Well, it don't just look bad; it is bad now. Now, I will still point out that Michigan is still, what is it? Is it 5 times the past 22 years?
Mm-hmm.
3 in a row is nice, but I'm like, yeah. But see, the thing is, you can't argue at this point that the pendulum or the momentum has switched back to their side.
Right.
When you have 3-0, but I'm like, let's be realistic, because you got people like Reem, out here. It's our time now. Every 20 years, I'm like, man, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. All right,
Right.
Ryan Day turns into a different coach, unfortunately, when he coaches against Michigan, because I hate it. If you look at the Ryan Day that let it go against Georgia last year and Clemson the previous year in the playoff when we beat them, and pretty much everybody else, as Big John highlighted, that he has absolutely no problem with destroying, but he gets into that game, and now it's mental. It is a mental thing now.
That's like the water boy, Coach Clyde. He was scared of Red Bull U. He couldn't get over the hump.
Nope, couldn't get over the hump. It was over until it happened.
But my worry is, now my worry is it's turned into an issue, and now that reflects to the players too, because personally, I still don't believe that Michigan, top to bottom, has a more talented roster than Ohio State. Now, they have a style and a niche that they've, kind of gotten the past few years. And I know he reached out to his brother, speaking to Jim Harbaugh, to get some NFL defensive tips to help slow Ryan Day down. I'm not even going to go the whole route with the, sign stealing, stuff, because I know they didn't do it this year. So, at least in that game, excuse me. So I don't know what the excuse would be for Buckeye fans. It's like you just lost. Period. You didn't get it done. And for everybody that don't understand that, tough shit. It's in Ryan Day's contract. Even he admitted, what you sign up for when you sign up for this job. Henry C. said, if Day left or got fired, who would you realistically want to replace him? Man, I put together a list, but I would prefer that he stay and do what I always said. I said Ryan Day, to me, is an eventual NFL head coach, but I know he won't leave Columbus until he either wins a couple national championships or he's fired, whichever happens, first. Even to throw it out there, man, it's gonna sound, crazy, and I don't have that list on me right now, because I was thinking about it, and there's some surprise names on there that people might not like, but I got a few. I'll just throw a few out there, and this is not in any type of order. I want to say this, but I went back to the list that Gene Smith had before he hired Ryan Day, and I was like, man, it's not a lot of people on that list, because Bob Stoops, even if you were able to coax him out of retirement, you're not going to get the same effort or fire that you had, during his first tenure. He's kind of on the back end of his career, so I wouldn't consider him. I don't know if they would still hire Dino Babers. I think it would be a good, selection, but based on what he's done at Syracuse, it's just okay. He's had a few years where he beat
Yeah, that's
Clemson.
mild. I wouldn't. That wouldn't be a terrible hire. It's mild. He's a mild. He's a mediocre coach to me.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, but I'm not gonna say he's a mediocre coach, but he ain't gonna have a machine behind him at where he's at.
That's where the
Ohio State.
mediocreness comes in, John. It ain't even about his coaching.
but I tell you
It's
who
about him
somebody
bringing kids in.
I tell you somebody who would be an overachiever though, that I do have on my list would be Rhoda Boat.
BJ Flood.
Yeah, because I'm looking age wise too, which is another thing that you had to look at. Him winning at places like Western Michigan and Minnesota and doing above average at those places. He got his first coaching job at Ohio State as a graduate assistant on Jim Tressel's staff in that '06 year where Troy Smith won the Heisman and everything with Ted Ginn. So he's familiar with the landscape. He already wears the sweater vest, in tribute to Jim Tressel. But honestly,
What
Henry,
about your boy in Notre Dame? You think he wouldn't come here? He wouldn't come there?
I'm getting to that.
Oh, my bad. I'm jumping the
My
gun. My
my
fault.
my top two choices would be either Marcus Freeman, returning home from Notre Dame, or the top choice would be Mike Vrabel, coming back from
NFL.
the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, which I think that's the only college job that he would probably even
Consider.
consider would be coming back. I think you could sell Mike Vrabel, on that, and to have a defensive minded coach, him and Marcus Freeman, honestly, and Marcus Freeman with his swag and guile and intelligence and stuff. I think with that Ohio State machine behind him, because I hope they're patient with him at Notre Dame. He's doing a good job there, actually. Now they
They are.
still
They're
have.
being very patient. They was already talking about an extension. They
Well,
were
see, because
already
they
talking
they had those Lou Holtz expectations, and I'm like, y'all ain't had the luck of the Irish since the early '90s, but Marcus Freeman's a good coach, so those would be my top two
yeah.
choices: is Mike Vrabel and Marcus Freeman. If um, he left, mixed in, like I said, a little row the boat. There's Matt Campbell at Iowa State. Um, I know
I
the
thought
other
somebody
name
else was
people want to
already
miss,
interested in Matt Campbell though.
but he's still at Iowa State though. The other name that you hear quite frequently, and I personally don't think this would be a good hire, but because I don't think he has enough swag for the job. But Luke Fickle, I think you at
Yeah.
least I think you at least have to make the call or put him on your list. But he certainly wouldn't be my first choice.
He's not doing good in Nebraska.
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
he at
Thank
Wisconsin, big
you.
dog.
No,
This is year
Wisconsin, my
this
bad.
is year one though. I don't
This
put
year
too
They
much
both
one,
stock
man.
red. They
in
I
the
both red and white. That's all I seen. I wasn't even
I
thinking
mean
about
I
it.
don't
it's
put
year
too
one. I
much
mean,
stock in the year one, man. Like he'll have them solid, but will they compete to win a Big Ten championship? I
Negative.
mean, honestly, the only time they've won Big Ten championships was
Ron Dane.
Ron Dane and Russell Wilson.
mhm.
you know, that year he was there. So that would be my thing. So I'm just preaching patience to Buckeye Nation. I'm very upset. There's a part of me that was like, yeah, something needs to happen, but it ain't firing Ryan Day. But there are tweaks to the program that need to happen, and I believe he's doing that. You see, the big news, the other day, Kyle McCord entering the transfer portal before the
Go.
bowl game.
Be up out of here. Get up.
So
What my boy Corporate said. Get up out of here.
that
Mhm.
ought to let you know, though, that there was already some talk and some direct
Oh
talks
yeah.
that were even done to that man. I mean, they're not playing. Everybody feels the heat up there right now.
And he got
So
don't he got a 5-star quarterback coming in?
yeah, Air Nolan from Georgia, Langston Hughes High School, broke a lot of records down there and will be enrolling in January. Now, I don't think Coach Day, it's just my opinion, although he should, because if you watch Air Nolan's highlights, he's for real. Um, I think he should have the opportunity to play as a true freshman.
I
But
think
I
he
don't
will.
but I don't believe Ryan Day will let him start as a true freshman. What I am interested in seeing is Devin Brown play in this Cotton Bowl because he was actually the one who I wanted to start at the beginning of the season, and I thought there was more upside, especially athletically. He can at least extend plays and stuff, but I don't feel like he ever got the right amount of reps to, be comfortable or to really see what he could do. Well, he's gonna have all the opportunity in the world in this Cotton Bowl to show and see
Who are they
because
playing in the Cotton Bowl?
Missouri.
It's gonna be interesting.
So yeah, but Aaron Nolan is supposed to be the truth, and then the kid that I'm most excited about in the class of 2025, Tavian St. Clair from Bellefonte, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
uh, will be the first Ohio quarterback recruit since Joe Burrow to come to Ohio State, and that was 2013. Um, Very excited about him because he's an Ohio kid who gets it and said he grew up dreaming about beating that team up north. So, that made me moist, hearing that. So, uh, that's what you had to look forward to. But firing Ryan Day, like I said, is not the solution. Now, if he loses next year in Columbus and it's 4 straight, I ain't defending or getting on here saying nothing
You ain't
about
gonna
it.
be able to. Ain't no
I
debating
mean,
that.
it wouldn't be comfortable for me now living in Columbus if I was him, but I can only imagine 4 straight. And another one at your state capital, nah, ain't going down like that. But enough talk about the Buckeyes for now. And boys came up short, made me mad, man. I went out, y'all, and I bought a brand new 55-inch TV for the living room. It was the perfect size for my entertainment center. I was ready to watch some good football, man. And actually, looking back on hindsight, technically it was a good game. It was an Ohio State Michigan, come down to the last, drive. But when you on the other side of that outcome, it's real hard to say anything was good. And it happened to be Kyle McCord's mistake in the first quarter that ended up being the difference. You
That
know,
pick.
yeah, football is a cause and effect game because people talk about that last one. I'm like, I don't even care about that one. You're trying to make a play, you're trying to drive downfield and win in the last second. But that first quarter, and me and John talked about this, in that game historically, the team who does not make that mistake wins the game. That's usually the difference. All plays matter, but certain plays matter more than others, depending on where they're coming. At that point in the game, when they're punting the ball back and forth,
Al, let's
nobody
look here.
has momentum. What's up?
We reopening this one now. I don't.
Nah, I mean,
It's hurt.
but
It
see, we
still
we
hurt, bro.
weren't on here when it happened, so we kind of have to recap it. And I look back at that, and you look at, I don't care whether you talk about Michigan quarterbacks from our childhood, even people like Brian Greasy, who wasn't even that
Yeah, he wasn't even that
talented.
good. Yeah,
He just didn't make that mistake. Me, and I'm talking about another guy for the Buckeyes that got compared to this clown Kyle McCord, and I hate to call him that, but it is what it is. Don't ever mention Craig Krenzel and Kyle McCord in the same breath because Captain Clutch ain't making that mistake. I can promise you that. It might be ugly. He might only throw the ball 15, 16 times a game, but he ain't making that mistake. Ask Big John.
he gonna throw Big John on that.
I'm just saying, like Krenzel would not make that mistake, and you damn sure know Troy Smith and the rest of the game wasn't gonna make that mistake either.
But everybody's already said this is probably our least talented quarterback we've had in a long time. So we just gotta now. It's over with, and
He's
I don't want to keep opening this
he's
one.
on the list. All right. As we wrap this up, I'm gonna give people the list. Worst Buckeye quarterbacks over the past, was it 30 years? Yeah, past 30 years. So he's on the list. I still have Steve Bellisari as number one. He'll always be number one to me.
For sure.
Justin Zwick is right behind him at number 2, and I do mean right behind him. And I'll put Kyle McCord at number 3.
Where you got Joe Germain at?
Why would I have Joe Germain winning the Rose Bowl
I'm
against
just making sure you
undefeated
ain't got him on the list because I've
Jake
heard his
Plummer?
name. I've heard his name in top 10 worst Ohio State quarterbacks, bro. And
Them
it
ain't
pissed me.
real Ohio State fans to say
Yeah,
garbage
it
like
pissed me
that.
off. It pissed me off. Don't worry about it.
Joe Germain is actually in my top 10 greatest Ohio State quarterbacks of all time, and JT Barrett is not. So I know that pisses Buckeye fans off when I say that, but yeah. Now Joe Germain was that dude, man. The only thing that hurt him was the same thing that hurt Stanley Jackson is they were sharing time with each other because they couldn't decide, and when Coop
They
would
couldn't
pull
make up their
one,
mind. They
it
couldn't make
always
up
seemed
their
like he
mind.
pulled him at the wrong time. Um, but and I made and Stanley Jackson commented on Twitter. I think it was this summer, but I said because I think it was 11 Warriors made a post. They said who's the most underrated Buckeye or one of the most name an underrated Buckeye, something like that. And I put him on there, and I put even his highlights that he had in the Rose Bowl, throwing that touchdown to David Boston and scrambling and stuff. I said, can you imagine Stanley Jackson and Urban Meyer's offense? Like,
Right.
people
That
don't
was
talk about him enough, but I'm like, bro, he wasn't garbage.
no, he
And
wasn't.
I think he was a little ahead of his time because nowadays people would love to have a dual threat quarterback like him.
Yeah, it's true.
But nah, whoever put Joe Germain on there, you don't know what the hell you talking about. That man won us a Rose Bowl against undefeated Jake Plummer and the now deceased Pat Tillman, Arizona State Sun Devils. So uh, enough talk about the Buckeyes, man, and Ryan Day. Let's get into this real quick. Let's talk about um, my main man. Y'all know how I feel about him. Pause. Yes, because I don't know. Will Johnson might surface on here or something.
He tired. He probably sleeps somewhere.
Yeah, he already
Him.
sleep. Man. So,
But he'll rewatch it and comment or something on there.
Mister, take that pause.
Right.
Let's
Whoa. Whoa.
double pause. Let's
Whoa.
well, I mean, let's have a conversation because we haven't
Hold on,
this
hold on,
year.
Al. Don't go no further. Hold on. You going shopping with Diddy? You letting Diddy take you shopping?
I don't want to answer that. Man. I really don't. But
Hey, you childish, bro.
look, I mean, and see Nate trying to
That's
set
why I
somebody
said what
up.
I said, bro. I asked
He
that
try
question
to,
for a reason.
well, see, but y'all know, and the audience probably knows at this point, but y'all in particular, you talking to the world's biggest Bad Boy Records fan and Diddy fan, and like I said, had I known him and Big as a kid, they could have turned me into a child soldier. Like I'd have rolled for both of them. Like I
Yeah,
said,
I got real tears in my eyes, boy.
if I was out there, like I said, even as a kid, I'm like, man, Big might still be here. I would have protected everybody, even at my young age. But anyway, my problem is it's a very sensitive subject, and I don't want to, dance around it or not, address it. But even putting all that fandom stuff aside, Macy's has decided to pull Sean John off the rack, even though ain't nobody really wearing that no
You
more.
like to pull Sean John off the
You
rack.
should have been pulled, Sean.
I'm just wondering, do I need to go to the store and start buying up all the Ciroc bottles and stuff now before they disappear?
Well, no.
Nah.
So you ain't got to worry about Ciroc because they parted ways. They
No, but he parted ways with the vendor and distributor, but Ciroc is still being, sold. It's still on shelves.
I don't think they're gonna take that down.
Yeah,
Because that's too much of a moneymaker. I
if
highly doubt
Armadale's
they're
still
gonna
in the
do it.
liquor store, then Ciroc ain't going
Bro,
nowhere.
I ain't
The
seen about
problem is
Armadale
he's
since
had to step
'01.
down from anything that he was chairman on or stuff like that. So like Ciroc, Revolt TV, he stepped down as chairman, of that.
50 trying to buy Revolt.
But the residuals, and I'll get to Curtis Jackson in a second. The residuals are still coming into Diddy as of right now because he can step down or whatever, but there's still legalities and contracts and stuff, endorsements, revenue that still trickle back uh to him. We got Brewski in the house.
What's
Oh,
up,
I ain't
cuz?
see this from Henry C. He said Honda McCord. That's what everybody was calling Kyle McCord. Brewski said he no longer with Ciroc. Well, I figured they weren't gonna let him be
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I
a
believe, bro. They
spokesperson.
broke ties with that.
They can't have him be in the face of it right now, especially. He said they ain't gonna take that off the shelves. They
No,
better not,
not
man.
never. Not gonna ever take that off the shelf. That's one of the
Take that.
highest grossing vodkas
Some in the kitchen right
ever.
now that I'm gonna sample after the show. But
take that Ciroc Brown off the shelf. That's terrible though. But everything
Oh
else can
yeah,
stay.
that brandy
oh,
got it.
yeah,
That brandy got it.
I don't
Oh,
count that. I
That
mean
shit.
it
the
made me
vodka,
sick the first
the
time I drunk
steel,
it. I was like, oh
the
my
steel
god.
with French grapes. Yeah,
All right.
nah, but
And I like my liquor like my women dark, and I just can't. That's just nasty. It's
here we
just
go with that.
I just can't. But that's the first dark liquor. I was like, nah, I can't do this, bro.
We transitioning a little bit way, but I do want to um, give a shout out to everybody who wished me a happy birthday um, last weekend, and the young lady that actually took me out to dinner on Saturday as well. I won't mention her name yet, but she knows who she is. Much appreciated.
That's so sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah,
Uh,
Oh,
yeah. Since we
man.
segued to the women topic, but getting back, this is a very hard situation for somebody like me, and just as a male, because look, it's one thing seeing Brewski being rude right now.
There you go. There you go,
uh,
we,
so brothers can't just be happy for you. You like,
man. Nope.
nah,
No, we happy
nope.
for you. You gonna
We
get these
happy,
jokes though.
but
You gonna
this
get these
jet, you
jokes
gonna
though.
feel this wrath. That's
You
what
gonna
it
get these
is.
jokes.
anyway, back to the Diddy talk. It's hard being a male because all of us have uh, seen situations or know people who were falsely accused of whether it's domestic violence or sexual assault, things like that, just because a woman was mad at them or using that as a weapon, because those are two crimes and scenarios where even if ultimately you are found not guilty or whatever, it sticks with you. It's there. So the damage is already done when that is, heaped upon your name. And all I'm saying is the timing was a little bit weird as the statutory time limits approached and stuff. And, all of a sudden, these people coming out of the woodworks. I don't know Sean Combs personally. I just, have been a supporter of his music career and, him as a business mogul and stuff, his entire career in the public. But I'll say the same thing that I said about, Dr. Cosby or, anybody else in general. They don't have to be famous. If he did it, hey man, you deserve the same thing as everybody else and to suffer, consequences or whatever. You know, my personal opinion, like I said, I just need proof because I've seen scenarios where, people have, lied and it doesn't seem like they get the same, penalties for, lying and, libel and defamation of character that the individuals do if they, are convicted of this. And that's something that I think needs to be brought up too. If it's, unfounded or it, turns out that it's not the case, the false accusers and liars need to have consequences, too. Needs to be like a scarlet letter put on them or something, listed, saying, hey, this person, has spreaded lies, misinformation, blah, blah, blah. They need to suffer consequences, be excluded from, jobs, business opportunities and stuff, the way people who are accused are done. Now, I know people in the entertainment, business do what they do, especially when they get power and they might have crazy fetishes or just think that they're untouchable or whatever. Um, I don't know. It's the one chick who went out on a date with him when they were both in college, or I think he had left Howard and was working with Uptown Records with Andre Harrell, and she was at Syracuse, and she went on a date with him when this allegedly happened. Um, I don't want to be afraid to talk about even Diddy in this scenario. So I mean, what do you guys have any opinions on it? I mean, what is your thought process about the timing of this, and whether you believe he actually did it or not? And again, we're just talking. We're not making a case for one person or the other. We're just
like you said, man. Like you said, man. If this is the case and he is guilty of it, he deserves everything that he has coming to him. But if he's not, let the man live. It's weird. It's uncomfortable because with all three of us being male, we kind of know how it feels to be probably wrongfully accused of something you probably didn't do or you really didn't have the intentions of doing. So it's kind of like difficult for us to say that now. Like I said, if it's founded, like even with the whole, Deshaun Watson thing, we don't know what he was doing or what he wasn't doing, or whether it was just a fetish or whether it got a little bit too aggressive or not. And like a lot of the stuff that in those legal cases came to be not founded or not necessarily true. So it's always his side, my side, and what really happened. We'll never know what really happened. But like you said, when you are a guy that's in the limelight and you do get a little bit of power and you can do certain things that other people can't do, sometimes you kind of gotta watch what you do. And back then, early 90s, whatever, like cats wasn't really worried about that because it ain't the same kind of society and get down right now. You got the
social media is out.
Social media is out, cameras, Me Too movement, whatever you want to call it. It's different now, man. So you can't be out here and trying to be your boy from the Playboy Mansion. I forgot his name. You can't be out here like that no more, man. It's just not the same.
Can't be a Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, Hugh Hefner type guy. You can't be that, man.
But see, I just think when you going back to the early '90s and stuff, with some of these allegations and all this, and I have my opinion, but it's just at a certain point, because there are evil and spiteful people out there of both genders, of all different backgrounds and races or whatever, and if they see an opportunity to cash in on an opportunity, people don't mind lying either. And I don't know why, there's always the assumption of, one gender is always telling the truth and the other one isn't. People lie, male and female.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that any of the women, who have, made these allegations are lying. I know that even the Cassie situation, who was actually dating him, I believe it's kind of strange that she comes out one day with the, filing, against him and pressing charges, and then the very next day, um, they settle, out of court. Now I know what people are gonna say, and there's definitely truth to it. That's that hush hush money that Diddy has had for a very long time, and makes it, hard to bring something against somebody like that.
I think,
But 50. And I'll let you go a second. 50, doing and saying what he's doing. I personally, I don't think that's helping, and I think it's stupid, of him to do whatever, even with whatever vendetta he has, against Puff. And I don't understand why, because it's like, bro, you made it. You made your mark in the music industry. Puff wasn't blocking you. He even considered signing you to Bad Boy at one time, but even though 50 says, "Oh, I never was gonna sign with them." Anyway, you still took the meeting. And Puff's thing at the time was, I just lost big, man. I ain't really, into, situations signing an artist where that may happen to them, again or whatnot. But, that's, whatever. That's out of my jurisdiction. That's between Puff and, 50, but he's having a field day with this because he hasn't like Puff for a very long time. But I don't think that's helping the situation. Nate, what were you ready to say?
I was just gonna say, it's a lot behind this story that we don't know.
Right.
And the thing is, we can't defend nor can we side with someone and side with somebody in this situation due to the fact we don't know what all was in the open and what was in the public eye. Of course,
So that
it's
goes
just
both
the
ways,
thing.
right?
It goes
Yeah.
both ways, and that's what I'm getting ready to get to. It goes both ways. I think the real thing is a lot of people seeing the fact that he settled out with Cassie, which everybody thinks that it was hush money, but it may have been it may have been a situation where he was like reopen that situation that's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even want to go in the past and deal with this situation. So
Well, his lawyer said, this is by no admission, of guilt, by doing this, and he still vigorously denies these allegations. I mean, it's happened before. Civil suits are different, and that's
yeah,
and
they
it and
are.
it's not an admission of guilt. I know, not to bring it up, but the late great, Kobe Bryant, eventually settled, his case. But just because somebody settles does not mean that it's admission of guilt. It just means that the, accuser,
They wanted to
got
go away. They wanted to be on.
wanted to go
Yeah.
away also, and they got something that they felt financially would make them be able to move forward in life. And the accused, the defendant, feels the same way. Like, man, I'd rather give you this bread and just go on about my business if that's what it takes to close this chapter and move on. But it does not mean that a submission of guilt either.
I mean, it's a PR move. You get on top of it before it becomes bigger. That's
Definitely
just
a
what
PR
it
move.
is.
I was going to
That's
say
what it
that's a
is,
big
man.
PR move.
I mean, but Diddy
It wasn't
ain't
even a
become a
day. It
billionaire
wasn't even a
by
day. It wasn't even a
Diddy,
day.
but he didn't become a billionaire by not having his ducats in a row, though. I mean, let's
For
be
sure.
honest, man.
For sure.
He's had the right lawyers and people around him for a very long time, even in the music industry, and even the other stuff that I love him, but even the other stuff that like you said, we don't know that Puff has done to get where he's at, in life. He had it in order, bro. He had the right amount of corporate people. He had the right amount of goons around him. What Eddie Griffin said about Michael Jackson. He said, "You don't become no billionaire by being no punk. You you got to do what you got to do to get to that point." And I'm sure there's some things that maybe he isn't, proud of. I don't know if this is one of them or not, but it's really tough because I saw somebody, Nate, that I won't say the name on here, but they went to Central State with me and John, and you have connection to them because I think you had her on your show, Men versus Truth versus Women. She's a comedian.
Uh,
Um,
okay. What are you talking about now? Okay.
and she said some garbage that actually got her unfriended on my social media as it relates to me about why ain't nobody talking about canceling the Bad Boy catalog. And I said, well, I had some thoughts in my head, but like I said, I didn't act on it. I just said, all right, well, I don't want to see that garbage no more. So yeah, delete it. But I wasn't gonna respond to it. And I'm like, so the families of all those artists and stuff that he just now gave his masters, to a few months ago and stuff are supposed to suffer, or us as music lovers or whatever because of one person's potential actions. I don't understand that.
People just be talking and try to sound funny and try to sound smart. That's it. I take that people when they make comments like that with a grain of salt.
Now, I'll tell you what was funny as I click on Brucey's comments. I think the stories have some truth to them. However, why are they telling the story now? I think it's a money grab, especially that he went ahead and paid Cassie instead of fighting. Others are going to try to get some bread too. Shit, to me, I think she had more dirt to spill. He was stopping the league before it got bigger. That's my perception. I mean, that's what you do in those situations. So yeah, I don't agree with canceling the Bad Boy catalog. That's crazy. Yeah,
that's nuts.
that would be taking away so much from hip hop. Like,
yeah, that's nuts. That's dumb.
Do you
that's
know?
dumb.
But do you know what all you would have to take away though? Like that.
Yeah,
that's not
I
even.
almost
you talk about taking big away. Like that's what first goes into my mind. Like, so you gonna cancel Big,
Black Rob,
Mace, The Locks Beginning,
112,
Total, Mary J. Blige,
Jodeci. Like you crazy.
Carl Thomas. Did we say 112?
Yeah, I said 112.
Feel like there's somebody we're missing too.
It's a whole bunch of people we missing, but
yeah, because even if they weren't signed to Bad Boy, you talking about projects that Bad Boy was involved in, all the remixes that Puff did. Take that ODB and Mariah Carey remix of Fantasy off. That was Diddy too. The Honey remix with Styles P and Jada Kiss on it. There's a lot of the Jodeci records.
You taking the locks away.
A lot of the Jodeci records don't happen without Puff, though. People are failing to realize that. Like, he was basically their executive producer during his time at Uptown.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Mack.
Mm-hmm.
It's a catalog. That's untouchable catalog, actually.
Come on, man. Like
I
said,
people just be talking, bro. Like,
hey man, we ain't even got to keep continuing on this because that's just.
But it's like people be,
catalog.
And then people be so quick to say this because of this cancel culture. Like, but if you go back through history, you know how many people we got to cancel. If we're gonna do that, we're gonna keep it all the way gutter across the board.
Oh, we're gonna keep it a buck, man. You might have to cancel people like Elvis Presley and let me stop. But anyway,
that's why I said we're not gonna keep going due to the fact that it's gonna be a lot of cancellations. We're not gonna do that. Let's not do that.
I can say another person that some people consider the GOAT, but I'm gonna just leave that alone. This whole cancel culture. But again, I think we all feel the same way. If he did it, hang him. If not, man. But my problem is the if not part, because the damage has already been done. Like I said, with allegations of these sort, even if you're eventually cleared, or especially from a criminal standpoint, there's still the specter of it that never leaves. So the job was done anyway.
Right.
That's the reason why Russell Simmons is living in another damn country, right now.
He ran up out of here.
Right. And that's just like, a few young men, unfortunately, where, they go to the league or they go to the NFL and they get hit with a charge like that. Their career is taken away from them. I mean, hell, at least Diddy got to experience his career. Some of these kids and some of these young men that get hit with the same thing don't even get that.
Well, let's not forget the now deleted tweet from Jamar Chase's. Well, I'm not going to use that term, but the mother of his, child. Threatening to basically end his career. And that's the point I want to make. I'm not defending one person over the other, or saying somebody else ain't credible or this or that. But when it gets to that point, they know they can do that. And regardless of whether it's true or not, you can alter somebody's career and life just by putting it out there. Now, things have gotten a little better with that, but as far as people digging into stories and really trying to figure out if it's true or not, but that's just a tough situation to be around. But one thing we ain't doing is canceling the Bad Boy catalog. I can promise you that.
No,
So one of the other things I wanted to getting back to sports, the Crosstown Shootout is on Saturday.
I'll be watching it at the house, just to let you fellas know.
Yeah, I will be too, because I'm not paying $400 for one game. And that's about
the reasons. We both ain't paying $400 for that. No,
because that's about what they're going for right now.
They are. It's not. It says Xavier too. No.
Well, I really need UC to get this. I would love for my alma mater. Xavier's had some problems out the gate this year.
They
They're right.
4-4.
They're right for the taking right now, and we haven't won there since 2001, since the opening of the Cintas Center in
Damn,
2001.
it's been that long.
Yep, my man Steve Logan.
Damn.
Yep. Damn.
Steve Logan beat David West that day.
Yep.
This is the time, and what I want national commentators to do, because you know what's gonna happen. They're gonna mention the 2011 game at least once, probably more. And I really want that narrative to go away. I'm like, there's so much more to that game than that one game where things got out of hand at the end and the fighting, all that crap. Don't mention that, man. The crosstown shootout, especially us here locally, has so much more to it. John, have you watched any UC basketball this year, man?
Not this year. I have not.
Your boy's son is out there, man, getting major minutes at the point guard. Jizzle
Yeah, man.
James, son of
Hey,
son of
man.
the Edrin James,
Hey,
Pro
man.
Football Hall of Famer.
He'll probably be. I guarantee he'll be starting before the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, the thing I like about Jizzle is you can certainly see the athletic genes, even though it's a different sport that he's playing in basketball. You can say, "Oh
yeah.
yeah. He got that from his dad."
Right.
The jumping ability and just the speed is ridiculous.
Yeah, right. I want his outside shot to get a little bit better, which I mean he's a true freshman, so
Yeah, he's a true freshman. That'll
it
come in
will
due
be.
time.
But it's not like his jumper's broke. You know what I mean? It's just not consistent. But like the way he drives to the hole and those layups and stuff that he gets and the reverse layups and stuff, you can just see it. Like, man, this team is really coming together, man. And of course they look great because they got some Jordan brand uniforms back on.
It's a difference. It's a difference.
Brewski said UC should
They
win. Yeah,
should win, Brewski, but this rivalry game is tough, and I'm with it this time around. I think UC can pull this off.
I'm like, what your boy soldier boy rivalry? It ain't been one, but I get what you're saying.
Nah, Xavier they had their number for like the last 6.
So what's the worst UC loss that you can remember in the crosstown shootout?
I'm gonna let y'all answer that. I don't know if I can go back that far.
I think the year Kenny Satin them lost.
Are you talking about his second year or the year with King?
No, the second year.
That one was weird because I remember. See, that was my 8th grade year. So you had left and went to Hughes.
I went to Hughes. Yep.
Um,
I remember watching that game, and I'm just saying, excuse my French. I'm saying, what the fuck, the whole game? Like, what was going on?
I remember I was mad because I fell asleep on the couch, and my brother Dustin didn't wake me up, so I woke up midway through the first half, and it was weird. And I'm looking at the score like, what, man, what's going on? Like, but I do remember Shoemaker was jumping that game though. We still didn't get it done.
It was, but we lost.
Now the one that stands out to me, and this is taking it back. I believe I was either in 3rd or 4th grade, so this is way back, but. Again, I can quote UC games going back to being 5 or 6 years old. But when we were ranked number 1, Danny Forces last year, when Lenny Brown hit that shot with Xavier, and that Xavier radio announcer got on there and said, UC's number 1 in the country, but number 2 in their own city. And I'm like, y'all just garbage, man. Y'all just get up for us, man. Well, back then, Xavier did have some players, though. Gary Lumpkin and Lenny Brown and Jumping James Posey in the gang and all them. Kevin Fry, they could hoop, man. They
had some players.
Yeah, but they still wasn't better than us, and that's the way I feel about.
They had before Fortson and them, they had Byron in them. They had Byron Larkin.
But see, that's the way I feel about Ohio State and Michigan. Like for whatever reason, the past 3 years, I still don't believe they had the better roster. I don't believe they had the better, talent. I just believe they played better in that particular game, and they won, and that's what you got to give them. So I'm hoping that Skillings, what Brewski say? Now I want to point this out though, Brewski, because when you was giving me crap, when me, you, and Dowdy was standing there at the Schroeder game on the sideline watching our alma mater, and I said that a collection of 4 and 5 star players would be better than one superstar player. But I said, who did I say to keep your eyes on and who was going to be a dog? Look, 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 look. He don't want to acknowledge it now. He say, here we go. But I told him and Dowdy, I said, remember the name Dan Skillings.
You
Dog,
said that yeah. You've been
four
saying that.
star recruit out of Philly. I said, watch the step that he takes as a second year player. I said he's going to be a star before he leaves UC. But I got to give it even to John Newman, man. The Clemson transfer that was out most of last year with an injury. He's been taking it to the hole and just dunking on people left and
He's
right.
been relentless. He's been like that though.
Well, that's his attribute, or best
Yeah,
attribute, though.
yeah. He's fearless.
We got Aziz that's been cleared finally. Hopefully, if we can get the man Jamil Reynolds cleared too and have two big men in the post going in the Big 12 play,
I don't think
along,
Reynolds cleared though.
they might not, but we
Yeah,
still got Big Vic though
yeah.
in the post. But the Bearcats have a lot of exciting options, and like I said, the fact that guys are including them in their top 5 schools list and some are committing and stuff. It's gonna get real ugly on that hoop course. So I just want to remind all these UC fans because they don't know it yet, but they getting ready to switch back to being UC basketball fans. Some of them have already done it, especially with Satterfield's opening act as UC football head coach. But watch, the pendulum is gonna switch.
For
Brucey
sure.
said, "Why are they not gonna clear Reynolds?" Well,
Cause he was considered. He was considered. They said his red shirt year was not considered red shirt. They said he was considered part of the roster. That was one thing, and then they said something about him with the eligibility of transfers as well. So there was two things that was involved with that. So I don't think he gonna get cleared.
Nate's gonna give you the official answer. I'm gonna give you the down low real answer. I still think that there is selective enforcement um, in different parts of the NCAA and certain schools that they will let stuff go. Like I said, the kid, who was the kid that left Ohio State that's at Howard right now?
Oh, the one that's like 6 transfers. John posted him.
He's like year
6 or
eight,
7 Yeah, he like 6, 7 years. Yeah.
year eight of
now he
college
like
basketball.
now he at like a HBCU now. Like he
Yeah,
done
he at
did
Yeah.
Howard now.
Um,
Oh shoot, I only got
there's a
5.
lot of people that don't want UC basketball to get back to where we know it should be and is going back to because that's bad for the other blue bloods. Because if UC becomes a blue blood again, they got the Jordan brand uniforms, the momentum, the different athletic facilities and stuff on campus. It's a different UC now, even than it was during the Huggins years. It can get real ugly and scarce for a lot of other teams. You're in a better conference in the Big 12, now, so you'll be able to pull better recruits in with that also. There's a lot of advantages to people not wanting UC, to be back. So there's that factor too, if you ask me, and just, uneven enforcement throughout the NCAA. So everything that Nate said was true also, but I believe there's a little bit extra to it also. So Reynolds may not get in, but UC is headed in the right direction with that at least. Want to make sure we didn't miss anything. I think we touched on everything except for my Los Angeles Lakers being in the semifinals of this pointless
We don't
in-season
need to talk about that.
tournament.
I
And
still
I'm
don't get
like,
it.
I'm like, what is this really doing, man?
Nothing.
Are you not a fan of this? Are you not a fan of this? Y'all not fans?
I don't see a point of it.
Yeah, but y'all ain't basketball. Y'all don't like basketball.
We are basketball fans.
Hold on, man.
I don't like
See, there you go. There you go. Here
y'all
you
don't
go.
like basketball.
We do like basketball.
I'd
I
have
just don't see the
had
point
more
in the tournament.
basketball guests on this show than football players, and I'm a football guy.
Al,
So
what
that ain't
I
true.
said, y'all ain't real basketball fans. No.
Okay. Oh, we
How
are
are we not
basketball
real
fans.
basketball
But
fans?
Nate, what is
Because
the
these
point
are
of the
very
game?
competitive games.
They
Like
can be
they're
competitive.
competing.
That's fine.
They
That's
are
fine.
competing.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, everybody
What
knows
is
at
the
the end of the season, it's all
They
about
ain't
the
gonna
NBA
compete
finals.
in the
You
All
know
Star
that.
game.
I'm going, but I'm not
You
speaking
can't
on the
even get them to
All-Star
play
game.
defense in the All Star game. Now I'm supposed to
But
care
they're playing
about this
hard
pointless.
Al, that's
Why?
what I'm saying. You're ignoring the fact that they're playing hard in the in-game tournament. You're absolutely right. When you put money on the line, who ain't playing harder when there's some more money involved? Who ain't?
People that really love the game of basketball
No, Al. Hell, you ain't gonna do that.
and
So if
will play
somebody
just
say,
because
"Hey,
they love
bro,
the game
we
of
got this money
basketball.
game going on." See, this is
Now
the
you
difference
just
between
said we
football and
real
basketball.
basketball fans, and
This
I
is the
said
But you
difference
told
somebody
us,
between
that
you
really
football
told
love the
us
and
we ain't
game.
basketball.
basketball fans, but now the money involved, now they're gonna play
Yeah.
harder. You should play
Because
hard regardless. So
bro, it would
that's
be
your
the same
craft.
way if y'all had football money. If they would say, "Hey,
No,
bro,
no,
we got this
no. If
money
that's your
game."
craft, you should play hard anyway.
No, I can tell you right now, Nate.
Bruh.
When I was young and when I first wanted to play in the NFL, I didn't even know they got paid, and that's what I wanted to do for a living. Money had jack shit to do with it with me with football. That's why I still eat, sleep, and drink it. It's my first love and always will be. And that's why I
That's
said
how it is
earlier
with
in
me
the
with
show.
basketball. It's the
That's
same way
why I
with me.
said earlier
But if
in
it's
the
an
show,
incentive
I
involved,
don't give a damn if it's the Belk Bowl, the Kraft Cheese Bowl, the Wrigley Field, Yankee Stadium Bowl. If I had that opportunity to suit up and play this game at the peak of my abilities again, I would do it for free any day. You ain't
okay,
gotta pay me to
I hear
play
what you're
football.
saying. I hear what you're saying. But you go sit up here and tell me a little money on top of what you love ain't gonna make you play a little harder?
Not if
It
you really
will.
love the game, because that's not what your main motive is for.
No. I'm gonna ask you this again. A little money on top of what you love to do, a little extra, ain't gonna make you want to play harder.
Did it make Joe Burrow want to play hard?
It did, but he fucked
No,
up
it
now. Excuse
didn't.
my mouth.
No, it didn't. He never stopped playing at an elite level, other than when he gets hurt and they stop, letting them have preseason
See,
reps, so
this
they
is
got to
why I
start
don't. This is why
the
I don't
season
debate with
slow.
football players. This is why I stopped debating with Calvin and Hill as well.
Hold on. Did it make Kobe play harder?
Yep, definitely
That's a
did.
lie.
Definitely did.
See,
Thank you.
And then
Thank you,
Brewski does
Brewski.
this.
I know, bro.
No, there ain't no thank
No,
you. See,
cuz
Brewski does
no.
this thing where he tries to tell me how I feel based on other people and what they would do in different scenarios, and I always had to correct him. Well, I'm not other people, so that's not how I function. If you get paid to do something, it's your job anyway. But there's a difference between getting paid to do a regular job, like all of us work, and
Okay.
stuff
All right.
stuff
Let's
like
backtrack a
stuff
little bit.
stuff
Let's
like this.
backtrack a little bit. Let's backtrack a
Stuff.
little bit.
See, he ain't let
Hold
me
on.
finish. Stuff like this that I would do regardless if I wasn't getting paid, because it's my true passion and love.
Okay. For example, you said your prime. Your prime, you ain't worried about no money. You ain't doing everything. A D1 scholarship on the line.
Say what?
A D1
Yeah.
scholarship is on the
Of
line.
course, if a D1 scholarship was on the line, of course I'm gonna play
A,
harder. That's just what
a
it is.
D1 scholarship is on the line. I'm not getting the correlation.
He's saying as far as if it don't have to be money, if it was an opportunity, if it was a D1 scholarship on the
Another
line,
opportunity at the
would
next
that
level.
make you play harder? Would that make you play harder? But of course you would, because that's just what it is.
See, it's times like this where I wish my dad was still alive, because he could probably explain it
I know where
better
your daddy
than
go with
me.
it. I
You
know where
know,
your daddy go with it.
like my dad said, even if we had an 8 o'clock game up in Dayton, Ohio, you never had to wake Alex up. I didn't have an alarm clock when I was younger. I would be outside at 6 in the morning with everything but my shoulder pads on, ready to go, because I love the game that fucking much. I didn't need an alarm clock to wake up. So
I think I
money
feel.
is,
I was the
is
same
not
way.
going
But
to be
no,
an incentive.
but
Playing for a D1 scholarship or trying to, as most of us did who played, during that year, that's great. Yeah, because you want to continue your career. That's what it was about with me. Now I had to walk on, but again, the incentive of getting that, yeah, that's nice. But like I said, if I had the opportunity to play football, I was gonna play football. That even that was not necessarily my end goal. I just wanted to play football as long as I could and make it to the NFL. All that financial stuff is great. It's like icing on the cake, to me. Like moving my mom out of the hood, stuff like that was, an incentive. But the money itself, that was not why I was playing football.
But this is my thing, Al. This is the point I'm making. There's a goal with every level. When you get to the pros, the goal is to make money and win a championship. College level, you're trying to get the accolades. You're trying to prove that you're ready for the next level, to be known for what you're doing and being known what you're doing in your craft. Every level has something that makes you play harder. Every level. It don't matter what it is.
Brucey
You
said,
have a
so
job, your job.
if your job incentives at work, you're not gonna work harder to get it. I don't know. Like my dad told me when I was a kid, he said he didn't give a damn whether I, became a professional knitter for, a living. I want you to be the best, knitter on the planet. And that's kind of the attitude that I took around in life or whatever. Like I just from a competitive standpoint, I want to be the best. And anything that my name is attached to or somebody's, hold me accountable for, yeah, I want to bust ass and be the absolute best at it, and just my internal pride is not gonna let me half-ass and do something because I don't believe in that. So incentives, yeah, I mean you're gonna try to reach them, but like I said, I'm just built different. I can't really explain it, to people. Like you don't have to, wave a carrot in front of me to do, the best job that I'm capable of doing. That's what I was raised to do. So I don't really know any different way than approaching it. I'm not a, half-ass person. If I'm all in on something, I'm all in on it. Lucy said, "Am I able to call in?" Um, I'm gonna be honest with you. With this setup, I don't know how to do it yet. um, but we'll work to get to that point. Lucy said, "Cannot call in." I wonder if I let Brewski call me and put it on speaker, but I don't think it'll work right.
My bad.
right.
I'm just saying, bro. Y'all just I don't
But we
I
get what you're saying. We don't. We understand the sentiment behind what you're saying. Like my only thing is, was that making them play hard? Did you have to go through all that to make them play harder? Like,
With this subject
what
in
is the point
particular,
of it?
it's not gonna work with me, especially if I relate it to my
it's not
first
I
love.
can't I'm not
I
gonna be able to
can't
convince you. I'm not gonna
I
be able to
can't
convince
because like I said, for me it's football over everything. Like I don't give a damn about anything else on this planet. Like I'll be honest. Like it's always been that way and it will. Like I could start crying right now talking about the game of football because that's how deep my love is for it. So, like I said, waving a carrot in front of me or a dollar bill, no, it's not gonna get me to play any harder than I always
you.
did when I stepped on the field.
But you know what the thing is? It's another thing about it is like football takes more physique, more physical aspects in the game. We understand that. My thing is, when it comes to basketball, you have the ability to coast and still do your best in those games. Football, you can't do that. There's a difference between the two sports in regards to the physicality and also how you play in the game. Some people are smarter than others in basketball. Some people are smarter than others in football. Some people can coast in football. Some people can coast in basketball. So the thing is, in regards to this in game, this mid season tournament, the whole thing of it behind it is everybody's thinking about getting a mid-season championship due to the fact that everybody was playing to their full potential in the middle of the season. That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing I'm saying to you. Go ahead, John.
But why not play to your full potential to win an
Because you're
NBA
playing 82
championship?
games instead of playing 17 games like football.
I get
I'm
it,
sure
but
sure as hell
I
glad
get it.
that
I get
Michael.
it. But I'm just saying, for example, the fun guy made all them commercials, and he was the king of LA and what he was gonna do, and we ain't seen him since. So this is gonna make him come play harder and not take off
What you talking
games
about?
and not
Talking about
Kawhi
Leonard.
Leonard, the
Who
fun
told
guy.
him he was the king of LA? Because LeBron James still in LA.
New Balance, and when he made the commercials with the little keychain waving in the wind and the
That's
I got
that's
a better example than that.
little
Shut
that's
all
terrible.
this shit
That's
down.
that's a terrible one. You
just
can't
Uh,
say that. He ain't even play a full season and with the Clippers
that's what
yet.
I'm saying. So that's gonna
Without
make
being
him play
hurt.
harder.
Without being hurt.
okay, so
You can't use him.
so I'm sure as hell glad the athletes that I grew up watching them triple headers on NBA on NBC. Nate talking about somebody ain't no real basketball fan. I used to be glued to my TV, watch all three games, then watch the night game on TNT. But that's when guys actually played and cared and competed, night in and night out. People like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, that you had to drag off that damn court. Didn't mind playing an 82 game season and still tried to play every single game and the playoffs, and somehow their bodies mostly held up to doing so until they were ancient and couldn't do it anymore because their bodies were conditioned to do it, and they loved the game that much that they wanted to compete night in and night out. So I don't really want to hear all this crap that you need an in-season tournament to make people play hard, because some of them still ain't playing hard. Because if you look at the teams that are left, the four teams or whatever, the Lakers record is like 13-9 or something right now, anyway. So it's not like they, are tearing it up even with this in season tournament. It's, other motivations that motivate these guys now, like money. But I mean, they get paid to be in the All-Star game too, and they still go out there and, half ass and not want to, guard each other. And that's not the All-Star games that we grew up, watching. The Pro Bowl, of course, me being a leatherhead or old school, I felt like I would have competed and played the same way. But I understand them because it's a much more violent, collision based game, and guys were getting hurt in the Pro Bowl and altering their futures and their careers and their earnings and stuff. But in basketball, it's a damn pickup game. A competitive pickup game. There's no reason for y'all to be out there just letting, cats go to the lane and not even playing at all. Like, that's just stupid. Like, to me, they get paid for that. I want to know what the explanation is for that.
My bad. My mic was messing up. It's just some guys. I'm gonna say this.
They really love the game.
I ain't gonna say everybody loves the game because
They don't.
that,
Kyrie Irving
that
told you that.
yeah, that's true. That's facts. I ain't holding you that, but it's NFL players that don't love the game either. They're doing this for a check.
But just like you said, you're right. And I'm not naive to think that everybody that goes out and plays the game of football is absolutely in love with it. But like you said, there's a different level of physicality and effort that's required to play the game of football. So you
For
don't
sure.
get your ass handed to you and broken up out there to where you can't half-ass it the way that you can in basketball.
For sure. And that's all I'm saying is if there are guys that take the game serious no matter what's going on. You're one of those guys. I'm one of those guys. Big John, one of them guys. We take the game serious. But there are guys that are out here that have the gift to play at the next level or the top tier level, but they don't take it serious.
And that's why people like Kyrie should be banned.
I ain't gonna say he banned because due to the fact that, that boy can play basketball, I can't even get mad.
What
I
did
can't, the
KG
only thing
say?
I can
It
do.
ain't about talent. It ain't about that. What did KG
Well,
say
if
the
you
other
got it,
week?
if you got it, what man in the world has not used their talent? I mean,
A
there's
lot.
crackhead butterheads. We are. I mean, there's a lot of people like that. But I'm saying at that level, at the NBA, there's several people in the NBA that have top tier talent, and they only use it for a money chase. There's people in the NFL that have this top tier talent. They only use it because it's a money chase. They know that's gonna make them a lot of money,
If you half-ass
but
in
they
the
ain't winning.
NFL though, somebody's gonna take your spot, and or you gonna get hurt or broken up.
For sure. Von Miller already said that.
In the NBA,
As soon as he half-assed, he
it's
knew he'd almost lost the spot.
almost become unwatchable at certain portions of the season trying to watch NBA basketball, and they only slightly step it up in the playoffs now. Because even the league itself wants to see everybody run up and down the court, score 150 points, a night. But like I said, in basketball, we was talking about the optics and it just looks bad earlier. Well, that's how I feel when I watch basketball. It just looks bad because, like you said, there are portions of the game or season where you can go out there and just lollygag and say, I don't really care, and it shows. At least you forced to play each week, each game, in football, because like I said, if you don't, your livelihood and your overall health can be at stake if that's the case. And most football players, speaking of teammates, aren't gonna let you coast, because now you messing with my bottom line and could get me hurt because you out here fooling around. Your mic is on mute, Big John.
I
For
agree.
sure.
Ain't no argument for me.
It's the ultimate team sport, of course. It's just, if I don't do my job to the best of my abilities, that can throw everything off. It's a link in a chain. That's just what football is.
Absolutely. Bruce, you said, and I agree with you on that, AB. I can't watch the game during the first half of the season, but in the season tournament has made it more enjoyable to watch. Well, I mean, and it's not everybody. There are certain guys that are going to play no matter what, like Jimmy Buckets. Joel Embiid is another one. Giannis is another one. Guys that are going to play hard no matter what, and they're superstars. And then there's other junkyard dogs like Patrick Beverly, and of course, he may not be the same player that he once was, but that's why, particularly after Kobe retired, one of the players that I enjoyed watching was still Russ, because I know, regardless, Russell Westbrook is going to go 100 miles per hour, and the effort is going to be there, and he attacked the game the same way I play, like it meant something, like every game was a life or death situation.
But you can't say, oh man.
You can't say
I'll
what?
be quiet.
You can't say that ain't how Russ played.
I'm gonna leave it
You,
alone.
you that ain't how Russ played. Did I say something that
He
was
plays
false?
with reckless abandonment sometimes, bro.
I'm not getting into your style points and your preference. I'm talking about an effort standpoint. I was being very specific in what I said.
Sometimes his effort ain't even the right effort.
Okay, Nate.
I'm just glad
sometimes
y'all
his effort ain't the right effort.
It ain't.
What's the right effort? If it
The
ain't,
wrong effort
play
is
every game like
forcing
it
the
was his
issues.
last.
His effort, he forces issues. I'm
Did
not
Allen
talking about
Iverson
style of
play
play.
every
He
game like
forces
it was his
issues.
last?
Him playing
Did
reckless
Kobe
is
Bryant
forcing
play every
issues.
game like it was his last?
No.
What?
No. All right, you can
Kobe
look back
Bryant.
at games where it looks like he just doesn't know excuse my mouth. He don't know what he's doing. It's games out there that he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Who?
Even when he was with your Lakers, it was games out there he didn't look like he knew what
I
he was
said
doing.
Kobe Bryant.
He
I
was
didn't
talking.
say Russell Westbrook.
I was talking about Russ. My bad. I didn't know you was talking about.
I asked, did Kobe Bryant play every game like it was his last?
Yeah. You ain't getting no argument. We can get off this with talking about Kobe. You ain't gonna catch no argument with Kobe for me.
But I felt like Allen Iverson played every game like it was his last too.
He did. Bro, you speaking of a different.
But see,
breed,
you getting into effectiveness and all of this and
No, you speaking of a different breed. None of them niggas still playing, bro. You speaking of a different breed. My bad. I'm just saying, you speaking of a different breed. They're not playing no more.
Nate owed me $20.
And I'm not accepting Russell Westbrook because he plays with reckless abandonment. I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'm not gonna accept Russell Westbrook because he plays reckless. His style of play is reckless. Only time it wasn't reckless was when he was in OKC averaging a triple-double because he had no other choice but to do that way. He had to play that way.
James Harden and Steph Curry ruined basketball.
I'll give you Steph Curry. I ain't gonna say James Harden. James Harden just is an ISO
player.
That's all he is. He is. He's just an ISO player.
I must say Steph Curry per se didn't ruin basketball. Everybody who tried to be like Steph Curry ruined basketball.
I agree with that.
That's it.
Y'all forgetting about James Harden doing the little dumb hand gestures and stuff and going out partying after losses
Now,
and
I
stuff.
totally.
Why are you bringing up his personal life? What's his personal life got to do with that?
I totally
and
don't
getting
like.
fat because he didn't want to play for a particular team, which he's never recovered from.
But that's every team he's played for, bro. That's every team he's played for.
Look, Corey Chappelle, aka Brucey, say, "I hate James Harden." You know, one of our more famous guests that we had on here, DeMar Johnson, said the same thing, that he didn't.
What's up, Terry?
Look at Terry. That he didn't like James Harden's game.
Now, going back, I'm sorry for what I didn't even hear what you just asked because I had you on mute. But like I said, Steph Curry didn't ruin basketball. People who tried to be like Steph Curry ruin basketball. I've never been a fan of how James Harden plays now. I was a fan of how he played at OKC when he was coming off the bench. Maybe he should have stayed playing like that. But I hate, and me and Al laugh about it, but the dribble, shoot, that gets on my nerves. Like, do something. Like, I don't want to watch 30 minutes. Right. I don't want to watch 30 minutes of you standing in one place dribbling and shooting. That's boring. I don't want to watch that.
It's a terrible way of basketball. I don't disagree with that.
Now,
it works for him.
To Steph Curry's defense, he runs around,
help
he makes plays, he does what he does. Steph Curry didn't ruin basketball. It's people who tried to be like him ruin basketball.
For sure.
Steph Curry still moves without the ball. He Rip Hamilton without the ball. He runs around, he makes plays, he comes off screens, he does everything he's supposed to do. People who try to be like him.
This go sound crazy. Y'all might not like how I'm gonna say this. He has the new age Mike Jordan influence. If you understand what I'm saying. Steph Curry.
Because these kids want to be him. He does. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, because he gave everybody who was 5'9" and 5'10" a chance to think that they could still keep playing basketball.
Yep, exactly.
All you got to do is be able to shoot from half court.
If you can shoot the ball, you can do anything. That's what
they don't know that. And they don't know that Steph Curry is taller than me. The Negro is 6'3". So
they don't know that he has a unique skill set that was instilled and practiced by him because of his father, Dale Curry, who was one of the greatest shooters of all time in his own right. So that's why he's able to play like that, and it's not forced. And even people that try to emulate Steph are not going to be able to do it to the level that he was.
And another thing that he has that a lot of people don't even pay attention to, the young man can handle the basketball.
And y'all got me
Steph
on
Curry is Steph Curry, and that's the thing. Like you know, people trying to emulate him, but I just think it's the way basketball has changed and the AAU influence and stuff. Because I know Kobe said he used to hate AAU, and he wish basketball was still little league and fundamentals and stuff were worked on. But the whole vibe is everybody. If you ain't shooting from half court, it's a dunk, or an alley-oop. I mean, very rarely. I mean, I guess you see it sometimes, but man, I remember when the game was like real detailed half court offense, the triangle offense, pick and roll stuff like John Stockton, Karl Malone. I think Steve Nash was the last one to use that pick and roll consistently to that degree. On
I'm gonna say it passed on the Joker and Murray. I don't think you've ever watched their offense, but they run a 2-man game.
How would I not have watched?
I mean, but here's the thing. What y'all saying?
What
y'all saying is correct, but like even with the pick and roll thing, like how many guys you see with a post game or even with a mid range game? It's only a selected few. That's why they rushed and got Melo up out the league.
Joker and Embiid,
right? Because I mean, they're
DeMar
big
DeRozan
men. They're allowed.
That breed of the mid range.
Of course, DeMar DeRozan ain't changing. He don't care.
He ain't gonna change his game.
It's your boy in Milwaukee. He might be a little old now, but Chris Middleton had a nice mid range.
He did. He used
game
to.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
But he was more of a 3-point threat as well, though.
Yeah, that mid range game is a lost art, man. For real.
It is. When I got older, I realized that's gonna be my best friend. When I hit 30, I was like, oh yeah, the mid range is gonna be my best friend.
You got that club foot, bro. You can't run like you do.
It's not my basketball career done. I'm over. I'm retired. I'm sitting down. I just sat down.
See, y'all was messing, joke about Tim Duncan. Now you is Tim Duncan. Now you got to play it.
Oh no, I wasn't never joking about Tim Duncan because I was the only one that made. Shout out to my boy Tone. Tone was the diehard Tim Duncan fan, and I started paying attention. I'm like, Timmy got game. So Timmy rubbed off.
You know what? Tim Duncan was one of them dudes that I really didn't appreciate until the very tail end of
his career.
Because I always knew he was great, but it was just so damn boring to watch. What Shaq called the big fundamental,
fundamental,
and him banking it, in and stuff like
he mastered the bank shot.
Because like my favorite, power forwards, Chris Webber, Charles Barkley, Rasheed Wallace. Like I like to see entertainment value, KG. Duncan's game was so plain and boring, but like towards the end of his career, I started to realize, like, you know what? He might be the greatest power forward.
What he say? What he say on the Titans? We run 6 plays straight like Novocaine. Give it time, it always works.
Always work.
Always work. Yep.
No, but I understood, and not just him. Ginobili, Parker. That big three that they had, man. They put in some real work, man, and they played some great basketball for a very long time, man.
That offense was different, bro. That offense was different.
And the way they were able to beat,
effective.
The way they were able to beat, and in that big three down in Miami, and they were not at the peak of their abilities when they beat Miami.
Nope. They
just played better basketball. At the hump.
They was right there.
Fundamentals and being coached by Pop, was able to get it done.
He's definitely a mastermind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even though Victor Wembanyama ain't doing what he's supposed to do tonight, he's Pop is
that long mug, 7'3", wingspan, almost 8 foot.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy.
Now, but Joker don't pass the eye test neither, but he's another one that just you can't stop.
I think they're the team to beat still.
They definitely have to be.
They're definitely the team to beat.
Now, what I want to know is why Kentavious Caldwell Pope couldn't play like that when he was with the Lakers. That pissed me off.
Because LeBron James had the ball.
Well, we don't want to get into that. Have people like Los.
My bad. My bad.
No, I agree. But as I said before, you start talking about LeBron, even if it's constructive criticism, these bronze sexuals will get upset in a hurry.
Yeah, that's true. I'll leave it alone.
Well, fellas,
green is for the money, gold is for the honeys.
You got to put that Celtic crap in there. Yeah. We're ready to wrap up. We want to remind everybody to please check us out everywhere. YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Pies. I see what my mind is.
Everybody dying down.
I'm home too.
Apple Podcasts. Check out us on Facebook too. The link will be up as well to catch the live stream. We got some pretty exciting things as we close out season 3 and the beginning of season 4. Also, anybody that is looking for a podcast to sponsor, again, the best sports podcast in the city of Cincinnati will be a great one to start with. So we want to sign out. I am Farrell, checking out with the Brown, Bruce Wayne, Big John.
Yes, sir.
Will West, the best, Nate.
You know it.
And we will do it better the next time.
There you go.
Yeah.